For millions of Americans, SNAP isn't just a government policy, it's a lifeline that stands between a nourishing meal and the harsh reality of hunger. It's the difference between a child going to bed with a full stomach or an empty one, and a parent's peace of mind or sleepless nights filled with worry. Nearly 42 million Americans, children, seniors, veterans, and people with disabilities, depend on SNAP to put food on the table every single day. It's not just a number, it's families in every community, in every state, quietly relying on this support to get by. SNAP is a vital safety net, providing stability in uncertain times. It helps families weather job losses, medical emergencies, or unexpected expenses. But its impact goes beyond the kitchen table. It fuels local economies, injecting billions of dollars into grocery stores, farmers markets, and small businesses each month, helping communities thrive. Every SNAP dollar spent ripples through neighborhoods, supporting local jobs, keeping store shelves stocked, and helping small businesses stay open. It's an economic engine that benefits everyone, not just those who receive assistance. When SNAP is disrupted, the consequences are immediate and severe. It's not just a bureaucratic hiccup, it's a crisis that threatens food security for millions, leaving families scrambling and communities under strain. When benefits are delayed or cut, families are forced into impossible choices. Do they pay for groceries, keep the lights on, or buy the medicine they need? These are decisions no one should have to make in a country of such abundance. The events of November 2025 expose just how fragile this lifeline can be. Long lines at food banks, empty shelves, and anxious families made it clear, when SNAP falters, the impact is felt everywhere. SNAP's stability isn't just a policy issue. It's a matter of national well-being, dignity, and the promise that no one in America should go hungry. Protecting and strengthening this program means investing in our communities, our economy, and our shared future. November 2025's government shutdown wasn't just a political standoff. It was a disaster for those who depend on federal aid. SNAP, for the first time in its 60-year history, faced halted payments due to congressional gridlock. The shutdown turned food assistance into a bargaining chip, leaving 42 million Americans in limbo. Without congressional funding, the USDA's hands were tied. No legal authority meant no money for benefits. As days passed, anxiety and confusion swept through communities. Families watched their cupboards empty, uncertain if help would arrive. The shutdown transformed a reliable support system into a source of fear and instability. For those living on the edge, this uncertainty was devastating. With Congress deadlocked, the Trump administration faced a harsh reality: only $4.6 billion in emergency reserves for nearly $9 billion in SNAP needs. Their solution: issue just 65% of normal benefits to all recipients, a move met with outrage. Officials called it pragmatic, but critics saw it as political leverage, not necessity. Legal experts and advocates argued the law required full benefits, not partial payments. For families, a 35% cut meant skipping meals and stretching every dollar. The partial payment plan deepened hardship and set the stage for a fierce legal battle. SNAP recipients became pawns in a high-stakes political fight. As soon as the government announced only partial SNAP payments, a wave of lawsuits swept across the country. Advocates, legal aid groups, and affected families quickly mobilized, arguing that the law was clear. Full benefits were required, not just a fraction. The legal filings came from all corners, and outside courthouses, protesters demanded justice for millions of vulnerable Americans. The stakes were high, with food security for countless families hanging in the balance. In Rhode Island, federal judge John McConnell became the first to issue a sweeping order. He ruled that the administration must pay the full $9 billion in SNAP benefits immediately, calling the government's partial payment plan both arbitrary and unlawful. His decision sent shockwaves through the legal and political landscape, setting a powerful precedent for other courts to follow. The administration, however, was not ready to concede. Officials held press conferences defending their actions, insisting that a single judge could not force the government to spend money without explicit approval from Congress. They quickly filed an appeal, hoping to overturn the order and avoid a massive, unplanned expenditure. The case moved swiftly to the First Circuit Court of Appeals. After reviewing the arguments, the appellate judges declined to block Judge McConnell's order. This left the administration in a difficult position, copying the court's mandate and the limits of their own authority. Meanwhile, some states took matters into their own hands. Determined to support their residents, state officials began issuing full SNAP payments, even though it meant risking their own budgets. For many families, these payments were a lifeline, but the uncertainty remained. Facing mounting pressure and a patchwork of responses across the country, the administration made an urgent appeal to the Supreme Court. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, acting swiftly, issued an emergency stay that temporarily blocked the lower court's order. This emergency stay brought the rollout of full SNAP payments to a sudden halt. For millions of families, hope turned once again to anxiety, as they waited to learn whether they would receive the benefits they desperately needed. Grocery store shelves grew emptier, and the sense of uncertainty deepened. With the Supreme Court now involved, the fate of SNAP recipients hung by a thread. The legal battle was far from over, and for those relying on these benefits, every day brought new questions and growing concern about what the future would hold. The brief window before the Supreme Court's stay triggered chaos among states. States like Wisconsin and Kansas rushed to issue full SNAP payments, risking millions in overdrafts. Governors called it a moral duty, hoping federal funds would follow. Other states, stuck with partial payments, waited for guidance. The result, a patchwork of responses, with some families receiving full aid and others left short. The administration accused fast-acting states of grabbing limited funds at others' expense. Confusion reigned, and a family's access to food depended on their zip code and their state's risk tolerance. The crisis exposed deep inequities in the system. Behind the headlines, 42 million Americans faced real hunger and fear every single day. Single parents, seniors, and people with disabilities struggled to stretch partial benefits, often coming up short. Food pantries and soup kitchens saw record demand, their shelves quickly emptied, and resources strained. Many families, new to seeking help, waited in long lines for basic groceries and daily essentials. The partial payments forced impossible choices, watering down milk, skipping meals, and relying on charity to survive. The emotional toll was immense: stress, anxiety, and a deep sense of abandonment. Conflicting court orders and uneven state responses only deepened the confusion and uncertainty. November 2025 became a month defined by hunger and uncertainty for millions of Americans. Justice Jackson's stay left SNAP's future in limbo, pending a full appeals court review. For millions of families who rely on these benefits to put food on the table, the uncertainty is more than just a legal technicality. It's a daily source of anxiety. As the legal process drags on, households across the country are left wondering how they'll make ends meet, unsure if help will arrive in time. Even if the courts eventually order full payments, the reality is that bureaucratic and logistical hurdles could delay relief for weeks or even months. State agencies, already stretched thin, must process back payments and update systems, while families wait in limbo. For those living paycheck to paycheck, every day, without assistance, means tough choices: skipping meals, cutting back on essentials, or turning to food banks that are already overwhelmed. The crisis has set a dangerous precedent. SNAP, once considered a cornerstone of America's social safety net, is now a political bargaining chip. The program's stability, once taken for granted, is now subject to the shifting winds of political negotiations and court decisions. This uncertainty erodes trust in the system and leaves vulnerable families feeling abandoned. If benefits can be halted once, it could happen again, fueling ongoing uncertainty and fear. Families now worry that each budget standoff or political dispute could put their food security at risk. The threat of future disruptions hangs over every household that depends on SNAP, making it harder to plan and harder to hope. The fight is about more than just 1 month's payment. It's about the future of the social safety net itself. SNAP is a lifeline for millions, especially children, seniors, and people with disabilities. The stakes are high. The outcome will shape not only how we respond to this crisis, but how we protect the most vulnerable in the years to come. Only Congress and the White House have the power to provide a permanent fix by ending the shutdown and ensuring stable funding for SNAP. Advocates, families, and community leaders are calling on lawmakers to put aside partisan differences and act swiftly to restore confidence in the safety net. The 2025 crisis is a stark reminder that political gridlock has devastating human costs. Behind every policy debate are real people: children going to bed hungry, parents making impossible choices, and communities struggling to fill the gaps left by government inaction. The well-being of millions depends on leaders putting people before politics. As the nation watches and waits, the hope remains that compassion and common sense will prevail, ensuring that no family is left behind on the precarious path ahead.